Hello everybody, I am Ben from Team Panic, and today we're going to talk about the Antweight Nationals that were held basically the day after the Featherweight Nationals. So if you haven't seen the Featherweight Nationals video yet, that has been out for a week. That was how my 13 kilo robot went in Australian Nationals. And today we're going to be talking about Antweight Nationals. So I had a new chassis for my vertical spinner This Is a Party, and I just kind of threw it and some other bits and pieces in a box and dealt with that over there, because between going to America and coming to Australian Nationals, I had about a week. So I spent all of that time on the 13 kilo robot and just kind of left the Antweight to the side. However, did manage to get it up and running at the event. Everything was all good. So let's get started with some fights, shall we? The first fight up is against Propellant or Buzzant, one of the two. Both of them are a very similar robot. They are a Bristlebot robot, which means that they don't have any wheels, but they've just got like bristles in underneath the robot, and then they run two weapons at the same time to propel the robot around. Because of this unique design, they qualify for shuffler rules, or at least they qualify for shuffler rules at the event that we were at. Which means that the whole robot is 225 grams of robot, and most of that mass is in the weapon. So this one was going to be a bit of an interesting fight for me. Let's take a look at that. So that was a bit of an interesting fight, and most of the problems there were me. I forgot to glue my wheels together. So normally I put super glue between the actual silicon and the TPU hubs, and also I normally hot glue the TPU hubs to the actual axle shaft so they don't come off. So yeah, that was very interesting. There was a few really good hits in there pretty early on. I managed to take out his carbide tooth that he had on one of his blades, but he also did a pretty significant amount of damage to me, and the match did end. We got all the way through all 3 minutes, and he won that fight because of damage to me at the start, and also perceived damage from the wheels coming off and all of that kind of stuff. Had I managed to knock him a couple more hits, he should have gone in the hole and he would have been out. Technically, I think he should have been counted out towards the end there. He was sitting on the hole. He was mobile. He was able to move. He was just sitting immobile because if he tried to move too far, the whole arena was on a slight tilt towards that pit. So if he tried to move and messed it up, he would have been in the hole. So he chose just to sit there. And yeah, like I said, I think he was technically there for more than 10 seconds, but he didn't get counted out, so in the end, the win did go to him. Next up, we were going against Bob, which was a horizontal spinner made out of a ruler, which was a bit of an interesting design. So let's take a look at that. So this was a near perfect fight for me. That was a 2-hit KO. First hit to take the weapon off and second hit to just throw him out of the arena. That was beautiful. That is exactly how I like This Is a Party working. There's not much really to say about that fight. It just worked. Everything went really well. So having done that, so this is we're doing a quick round robin. Sorry, I should have mentioned how the tournament was set up. So they were done round robin set up with 4 robots per group, and then the top 2 out of each group moved into the semifinals, and then so on and up through until the winner. So going into the semifinals, it goes to single elimination. If you lose, you're out. So now I've got 1 win and 1 loss in my round robin, which sits me in pretty good stead, but I absolutely have to win the very next fight because Propellant, the person who beat me in the first fight, has now won 2 or 3 fights, and yeah, they're going strong. They're going to be into the semifinals, so I need this second win to make it through to the semifinals. So next up is Plasma, which is an undercutter. So let's take a look at that. Sorry, no, we're not actually taking a look at that because unfortunately Plasma took some pretty serious damage in a previous fight and was unable to get up and running. So I did that little gyro dance in the arena there, and yeah, that was it. So I got the 2 wins. I was very disappointed about the Plasma fight. I was really looking forward to that. Yeah, it should have been a good fight, that one. I was interested to see how This Is a Party went up against an undercutter like that. But unfortunately, you know, that's the way these things go. In combat like this, sometimes you just get damage that you can't repair in the time limits that you've got. So that's the way that goes. But it does mean that we're moving on into the finals. So the first person up we have in the finals is Mr. Bean. So called because the back armor of the robot is actually a baked bean can. And the whole robot itself is a nice big hinged flipper, so I was expecting quite a fight out of this one. Let's take a look at that. So it turns out the 1 hit was all I needed. Mr. Beans had taken damage earlier in his round robin fights and did not have his lifter working, which meant that 1 hit was all it took to immobilize him. Flipped him over and he was stuck upside down and he couldn't self-right, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately for him, fortunately for me, because that means I'm moving on through. So next up, we're going up into quarterfinals. I think I've gone the wrong way with my finals bracket. Anyway, next up, we're moving on to another finals fight, and this time we're versing Shrapnel from Adelaide, actually. So both of us had got this far in the tournament, and now one of us is going to go home. One of us is going to get knocked out, I should say. We weren't going home. That was a long way away at this point. But here we go. So I'm versing Shrapnel, and I'm feeling pretty good about this fight. The low walls around the arena are really great for me for flipping people out of the arena. So I thought that I should have the edge on Shrapnel in this particular arena. Let's take a look at that. So that did not go the way I wanted it to go at all. It took me quite a while to work out how it was that I was the one that got propelled up and out of the arena and not Shrapnel. And what I think it is that the prongs that go forwards on this as a party have an undercut in underneath them. So they kind of come down this way, and then where they touch the ground, they're also like in underneath like this. So they've got this nice little angle on them. And what I think happened is Shrapnel's blade has come in, hit me on that angle, and boosted the whole robot up as the blade has been pushed down by the angle of the actual pod itself. So that is a big glaring hole in This Is a Party's armor, because it means that any vertical that's at the right height is going to hit this little lip and push the whole robot up, which is not good, because while I can drive inverted, I can't spin the weapon inverted, and once I'm inverted, it's pretty hard for me to flip back over the other way. So being inverted is a bad spot for me to be in. It basically gives my opponent free reign to hit me wherever they like. And also I did lose that fight, obviously being pushed out of the arena like that. So I'm now out for this competition. And yeah, there's not even any more fights that I get to go in from here, because at this point, Shrapnel also takes some pretty major damage moving on through into their sets of finals. And so I swap out some of my motor components with him. He'd actually lent me a motor earlier in the day. The first fight had actually crippled one of my motors. So he'd lent me a motor, and I had to give that back to him so that he could get back up and running and into the finals and stuff that he needed to be in, which meant I didn't go into the Rumble, which was a little unfortunate, but that's the way things go. Yeah, getting somebody into the finals was way more important than me being in the Rumble. So there you go. That is how Australian national ant weights went down. The next thing that we're going to do is actually we're going to have an AVC round as well. So the next weekend is another AVC tournament. So this is open ants and also 2v2 ants. I've got a little something special I think I'm going to cook up for the 2v2 ants. And for the opens, I'm going to put This Is a Party basically unchanged back into the arena. I think we'll fix those little inward slanty bits on the prongs, probably just with some hot glue, I reckon. Yeah, and that should be that. So that's what's coming up next. I will see you in the next video.